Hey everybody, and welcome to the SIG Docs weekly meeting. I'm Jim Angel, one of the co-chairs of SIG Docs, and today is December 20th. So getting started, do we have any new contributors joining us today?
Jim, it's October 20th.
That's the 21st? You know what's even worse is that I looked at the date while I read it, so my brain must not be doing what my eyes are doing, so I appreciate the correction. October 20th. And it looks like all familiar faces joining us here, so welcome back. So moving on, this week's PR Wrangler is Karen Bradshaw, or KB Hockey, on GitHub. And next week it is Caitlin Bernard. And approvers, make sure you know your scheduled PR wrangling shifts, which are linked in the agenda. Cool. So moving on to the main agenda, Release 120. Do we have somebody from the release team who would like to share an update?
Yeah, I will. This is Ray. Our current status is green. So the dev 1.20 branch was synced with master. Also, the dev 1.20 branch is healthy. As for docs, PR stats, we are currently tracking 7 docs. 3 are merged, 3 are ready for review, and 1 is in draft, work in progress. The number of docs, of tracking docs will increase because this week, the docs team has started to contact the enhancements owners to confirm if there is any docs requirements for the 1.20 release and to create placeholder PRs if docs are required. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. And I've seen a ton of activity on the docs release channel too, and I think you're doing a great job of keeping everyone informed. And I see all the activity, and it's really awesome to see the docs evolving to somewhat of a well-oiled machine. You know, before it wasn't necessarily as smooth of a process, and I feel like we're starting to get some sort of standards, and it's definitely awesome to see.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Ray. Moving on to the blog update. Is there somebody on the call who would want to give a update on the blog? I don't see any blog owners on the call, so we will skip that. I think this might be a light meeting, pretty quick. I don't have a ton on the agenda here, but maybe we can give some folks time back if that is the case. Moving on to the localization work group. Irvi or anybody else on the call want to give an update on that?
I don't think there is an update on this.
Cool. Yeah, not a problem at all. And I would imagine, so the localization working group meets monthly. So I don't know if we necessarily even need to do a status check weekly. Maybe at the first of the month, we check in with the localization working group for that. One thing I did want to mention is that I did create the calendar invite for that, and I shared it out with the SIG Docs mailing list. So if folks are interested in joining the localization working group, they meet Mondays, the first Monday of the month, and you can get that invite by joining the SIG Docs Google group. You should get that invite then. All right, moving on to issues and PRs. I see nothing listed. Does anybody have any issues or PRs they would like to raise awareness on? All right. Moving on. KubeCon talk introduction to SIG Docs status. It sounded like there were some deliverables and deadlines last week when we met. I'm guessing Tim maybe could give us an update on this if there's anything to update.
So yeah, Irvi and I and Celeste have recorded a talk. We realized we had a week less than we thought to have it submitted. So let me share the current status, which is that I'm rendering it into MPEG 4 version because I did it in WebM, but it's edited and it's ready to go.
Awesome.
Anything to add, Irvi?
No, I think you are doing like really fast job here.
Well, I thought we had a week more than we did, so I've had to speed up.
Cool.
Actually, I'm kind of surprised when I saw the deadline That's why I just ping everyone in so that we are aware of the deadlines.
So when is the deadline? The 1 week less?
It's on October 22, actually.
That is coming up pretty quick.
Yes, exactly. That's why it's kind of like really panic on Sunday.
Awesome. Well, is there anything that the SIG Docs team can do to help out or, alleviate some of the workload, Tim or Irvi?
It's really close to being done. Like I'm going to render that, upload it for one final check, and then I'm going to send it off.
Awesome.
I did see a conversation in the chat from Anna.
Yeah, sorry, but there is a PR open for the SIG release. It's just a docs handbook cleanup, and I was just wondering if I could get a review on that.
Absolutely. I will take a look at that and give it a quick review after this call. Appreciate the
Okay.
awareness.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, moving on. There are just some general reminders and housekeeping here is we canceled the 11th, November the 3rd meeting for the election. I'll probably remind folks as we near that date, just so, folks know what's going on as we, draw near to the US election. And then the Q4 quarterly planning dates was moved. So previously it was on the Thursday. It was moved to this Wednesday. That is October 21st at 5 p.m. Pacific. So if folks are interested in joining the quarterly planning, talking about quarterly objectives and more long-term objectives and reviewing some of the successes we've had in Q3, I'd encourage to join that meeting. As well as in the agenda, there's an agenda doc linked. So in the weekly SIG Docs meeting, there's an agenda for the quarterly planning meeting doc link there in the bulleted item. And if you have anything you'd like to discuss, it doesn't have to be anything that previously existed. If there's any new ideas, new features, enhancements, it's a great opportunity to throw things out there. I can give an example. In the past, what we've seen is, you might think, could there be any website optimization, let's say, CSS improvements, JavaScript improvements, just the way the site loads and performs. That's something you can just kind of throw out in the wild, and maybe you're not willing to work on that. And maybe you want to see if others are interested in teaming up and working on that. The quarterly planning is a great time to get feedback and figure out, who's willing to own what and at what capacity. And if it's an item that we'd like to move forward at a wider, quarterly level. Any questions on the quarterly planning meeting or the agenda doc or kind of what goes on in a quarterly meeting? Cool, chugging right along here. I see we have something on SIG security docs and it looks like Savitha. Do you want to take that one?
Sure. So, hi everyone. Hope everyone's doing good. So SIG Security met the second time yesterday, and one of the sub-project focus is SIG Security Docs. And I remember that SIG Docs Security used to be a part of SIG Docs back then, and I think the new home is SIG Security now. And predominantly it's going to address certain guidelines and hardening guide and vulnerability reports. We met for the first time. There was a breakout group room yesterday, and there were like 3 to 4 volunteers met for the first time yesterday. We are still figuring out the plan and the goals and stuff like that. So this is just like a very initial update that the sub-project's going to be it's getting kicked off. So yes, I volunteered to co-lead the sub-project now, and looking for more volunteers and input and opinions, feedback, anything is welcome. That's all. I don't have much. I just wanted to tell that, okay, it's there, it's starting, and I wanted to sync up with SIG Docs to make sure that if there's anything that I can take from this group and logistics and things like that.
Awesome. And Irvi, I saw you came off mute. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that? No? Okay.
I will, once I have everything, I'll come back with a whole, all the links and stuff like that. But this is just a initial update.
Awesome. So for folks who are interested, what's the best way to get started with this sub-project?
So for now, there is a security channel, and I am working on getting a separate Slack channel, and I am also going to work on getting a meeting set up once a month. So we are planned to meet once a month and work asynchronously. There's going to be SIG security meeting twice a month, I think, and we'll report there. And I also want to make sure some of the big updates are conveyed to SIG Docs groups as well. So whenever something's big, I will update. But to answer your questions, I'm sorry, I just divulged a little bit. Yes, the channel's gonna come up and there's gonna be a meeting soon. So once I have all those things, I'll come back here with the information. I don't have anything yet. And there is also some logistics issue that we are trying to figure out if we're going to use the same SIG security doc, Google Doc for all the sub projects, or there's going to be a separate Google Doc for sub project, stuff like that.
By the way, I have a question since I saw that we already have a Slack channel here for SIG security docs. Will we use that, or will we create another channels for the subgroup?
The previous one is SIG Docs security. It comes under SIG Docs, I think, and the new one is going to be SIG security docs. It comes under the SIG security project, so it's going to be a new channel.
Okay. Should we like archive the SIG Docs security then, or we just keep both channel because it's kind of confusing actually?
It was it? I thought it was already archived. I'm not sure. Tim has his. I think Tim wants something.
If there is a SIG's doc security channel, even an archived one, I would be tempted to unarchive it, mention the new channel, and archive it again. If that's not too much work.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah, and I would completely agree with that. Let's archive the SIG Doc Security Slack channel and create the one that's SIG Security Docs. I know it's somewhat confusing, but to give context for folks in this call, originally the idea was pitched, I believe it was at a quarterly meeting, saying we want to have a subgroup or a working group focused on improving the security aspect of documentation. So naturally, that working group or that sub project got created underneath SIG Docs as kind of a overarching SIG representing the SIG Doc security. There was a good amount of meetings, but ultimately the leader of that initiative had to step down, and some folks kind of stepped up and rotated through that leadership role in SIG Doc security, but ultimately it didn't have the driving force needed to maintain that consistency and to drive to any sort of completion. So I'm hoping that the SIG security docs, the SIG security overarching documentation effort, has a little bit more staying power and folks who are getting involved and helping out there. One thing I can do, Savita, also is share the old SIG doc security document that I have, just to see. It might help, it might not. Feel free to take a look at that, and I will send that over your way.
Thank you. That would definitely help me. I was gonna anyways ask because I was searching for the channel and I remember that it got archived like a few months. I don't even remember how many months ago. And I could never make it to that meeting because it was conflicting with something. So I never had a background on what was happening in that particular project then. So it would really be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And that was one of the things that I believe was part of the downfall, or I guess the demise of the SIG Doc security group, was the lack of a clear goal or lack of a clear initiative for the SIG Doc sub project. There was a few ideas of what it should be, but I don't think it ever got to the state of saying, here's what the finish line looks like. And that would be something very beneficial to bring to this new group to get out of the way early, figure out those goals, those deliverables, those objectives. That way it's not ambiguous, and I think part of that was due to the folks who were involved, as far as just, having that leadership to be able to drive that, I think is really what it needed to drive forward. So definitely I'll share that out with you. And then as far as creating the calendar invite, I know for SIG Docs, we recently consolidated down to a shared calendar that we create all of our events from. So some of that chatty, event invite stuff that folks have been seeing from my email have been efforts to clean up our SIG Docs securities or our SIG Docs calendar. So I would recommend that before creating the own calendar invite, you might want to reach out to SIG Security and see if they have a shared calendar they want to consolidate their meetings. The reason being, or the reason why that'd be beneficial, is it makes it simple to transition to other leaders. It makes it a little bit more clear to share out to other tech leads, et cetera, et cetera. So general consolidation where we can, and simplification, hopefully, along the lines.
Thank you. Thank you for those pointers, Jim. It is really helpful. Yes. And I am super bad at scheduling with calendar stuff. Yes. So I'm going to take my own sweet time probably with that.
Awesome.
And I could get all the help that I could get with that. So thank you.
Yep, no problem. Cool. Well, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Is there anything else folks would like to discuss? Hearing a whole lot of nothing, I'll give everyone some minutes back in their day. Talk to y'all later. Have a good one.
Thank you.